Well, thanks everybody. We're here to talk a little bit about emerging trends. My name's Ryan Cahoy, and joining me is Jonathan Brawn with Brawn Consulting and Michelle Montazeri from Legrand AV. The three of us are all elected board members of the Digital Signage Federation. What I'll do, I'll spend just a couple of minutes here talking about the Digital Signage Federation to give you a little bit of context. Then I'll have Michelle and Jonathan introduce themselves, and then we'll take any questions and just talk in general about display technology. My name's Ryan Cahoy. I'm currently the chairman of the Digital Signage Federation. I've been around digital signage for about 30 years, everything from hardware to software to content. Currently I work for AUO Display Plus. Many of you probably haven't heard of AUO, but you see our technology every day. We provide a lot of the displays, the components, the technology behind not only digital signs, but if you touch an EV charger, a Coke Freestyle machine, the dashboard of your car, even the little LCD in the printer in your home, AUO provides a lot of that technology. The Digital Signage Federation is a nonprofit organization, and our goal is to advance digital signage, help make people more aware, help grow the industry. And on the screen, you can see a handful of the different applications, but it's everything from retail to digital out of home to education, gaming, transportation. Everywhere you look, there's thousands of digital screens, just in this building here. We're a for members by members company, organization. And the 13 logos that I have up on the screen, these are our top advisory council sponsors. They support us and help progress the mission that we're putting forth. So some of the things that the Digital Signage Federation does, some of our key member benefits. The first is we host mix and mingles 3 to 4 times a year across the US. And you can see some of the dots on the map there of where we've been over the last few years. We actually have a mix and mingle coming up in Philadelphia next week. So if anybody's in the Philly area, you're welcome to join us. Next year, we're set to go to San Diego in February, Detroit in May, and in September we'll be in Montreal. We're broken up into 4 different committees. The first is education. Jonathan helps chair the education committee, and they put together micro-credentials, short 30-minute online education sessions, really designed for as you're bringing new employees into your AV integration company and you want to teach them, but also it's free for end users, so as they're venturing into digital signage and they're looking to learn. Also, Brawn Consulting provides 2 DSEG certifications, Digital Signage Expert Group. Those are great certifications for new members of the DSF to really get the basics and learn about digital signage. We also have a partnerships committee. Michelle co-chairs that group. They help coordinate industry events like this. We attend the DSEs, the Infocoms. We started to put digital signage pavilions together for end user applications like IAPA, which is for amusement parks, SHOP, which is for retail. And so we're always looking at increasing our presence and promoting the good word of digital signage at these types of events. Our marketing committee, they're taking our members' information and amplifying it, whether it's on social media, putting it on our website, etc. So it's just another way for us to help our members get recognized out in the space. And then the last is our membership committee. And we have rather economical membership dues. You can get started with a silver corporate membership for $500 a year. As part of our members get directory listings, they can vote. We have upcoming elections for board members, participate in committees. But what we're really looking to do is just get the whole digital signage community involved and engaged. And alongside our directory, we've created a Digiscape, which is a visual representation of the digital signage industry. So whether it's end users or integrators, if you're looking for a specific type of technology or a category, you can quickly look at this and see who's part of the DSF. So I know that was a real quick intro, but there's a lot of benefits to joining the DSF. The biggest is helping you amplify your business, networking with other companies within the digital signage space, and then just ongoing education and learning. So with that, I think I'll have Jonathan, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So Jonathan Brawn, I'm a principal at Brawn Consulting. In addition to serving as one of the board members of the Digital Signage Federation, my company provides a lot of outsourced engineering services for a number of display manufacturers like Samsung and Sony.
Same to you, Michelle, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning. Michelle Montazeri with Legrand AV, Senior Director of Strategic Accounts, so focused on end users and consultants. And Legrand AV is the key provider of infrastructure solutions in the commercial spaces as well as residential. So,
Great. Well, we got about 30 minutes here. We'll just kind of start just talking about some of the general display technologies. We'll start with LCD displays. You know, there's thousands of them in this room alone, and it's a mainstay technology that's, you know, really been the staple of digital signage for a number of years. So I guess, Jonathan, I'll start with you. You know, what do you see new? What's emerging? What's different coming down the pipe with LCD displays?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question because, you know, LCD is kind of our tried and true technology, right? We all know it, we're used to it, and you're right, there's thousands of them here. So it's really changes in how it's illuminated is one of the core technology changes we're seeing, and that's applicable both to home theater as well as commercial, because you're seeing increases in brightness, you're seeing increases in color imagery and color accuracy due to introductions of things like quantum dots and QLED technology. You're seeing brighter displays, but I like the point you've got up on the slide where we're talking about freeform, where when it comes to digital signage, unusual shapes capture attention, right? And so what you're seeing is those banners, tickers, smaller screens, unusual shapes, because we all kind of tune out the 16 by 9 screen. That grabs attention, especially things like the round ones.
Michelle, anything to add about what you're seeing with displays?
along the same lines, I would agree. And I'm looking around the show floor now at the number of static images that we see, and I think where we see LCD going is replacing static imagery. So unique forms, unique shapes, circular, et cetera, and that's kind of the future of display right now.
Do the unique shapes pose different mounting challenges?
Yes. It's an exciting time, actually, to be in the bent metal environment. Not only the size and form factor of the displays themselves, but the shapes that folks want to create in interesting environments to catch attention. We do ignore landscape 16:9 displays. We're overwhelmed with them. But if something is in a unique shape of a logo, for example, we start to notice, oh, that's digital. It's not a backlit static image.
Well, I'm going to go off that and go totally off script and ask you a question then. So with us getting more creative at where they're being installed, what kind of challenges does that prove? Like, I've seen displays mounted on glass. What do you do dealing with things like that?
Great question. Not an engineer. So it's interesting because not only is it the places that they're being placed without much thought about how it's going to sit there, but also the flexibility of displays that we're starting to see, and the integrity of a mounting solution to allow it to be a sturdy surface. So the thinness of a display does impact its structural integrity in an environment like California where we live, and there's earthquakes, other considerations that need to be made. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen. Certainly understand we want to put displays everywhere, but we have to be thoughtful about how, when, where, and the lifespan of installing in creative ways.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about LED. So, 5 years ago, if you walked around a show like this, everybody had super narrow bezels and was talking about how you could tile displays together to make video walls, and that was, the cornerstone technology. Now you barely see those video walls here. Direct view LED, kind of like the large screen that AOTO provided above us here, has really started to dominate. What do you think's driving that change? What was the tipping point where we started to move from LCD screens to the direct view LED? Now, Michelle, I'll kick that to you first.
I think we talked about one of the reasons. It's what captures attention today. It's not the 16:9 LCD, right? It's something new and different with unique shapes, extreme brightness, et cetera. But I will say something that doesn't get brought up very often is the sustainability of an LED display versus LCD is going to drive a lot of Fortune 500 companies to have to make that choice of what is more sustainable and fits within their initiatives.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the sustainability doesn't get talked about a lot, where I'm swapping out LCD video walls, whether it's in signage or a boardroom or something along those lines. You're doing that much more often, where LED, 100,000 hours of life, they're much more like long-term, right? And the technology doesn't shift. I think the obvious factors, since you didn't bring them up, cost, it's gotten affordable. I mean, when this kicked off and you and I first worked on the first couple of LEDs, they were expensive. Now they're quite affordable. And the technology is really high performance now, where an image like the one you're seeing above us wasn't possible 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It was much more coarse. And so all the advances, whether it's things like the SMD process, all the new things like glue on board, chip on board, technologies making it better and practical. You get better images that perform just like an LCD does, and we can do it at resolutions that make it work. So.
You know, I'll add on that cost. I was talking to somebody on the show floor, and I will not call them out, but they are showing a 165-inch all-in-one, $65,000 retail. That is an unbelievable price. So, yes, we're heading towards the direction of affordability.
Absolutely.
So on the direct view LED, Michelle, is it a lot easier from a mounting perspective for that technology than lining up LCDs, or was the LCD easier?
LCD is easier, but because it's more mature. So if we were to rewind the clock back to when LCD came into spaces, we all looked and went, what the heck are we going to do with these? They're so thin, right? How do we make it look cool? No different than LED. I guess the good news is we're getting to the point where universal mounts are an option. So Legrand introduced ours. We have some other competitors in the marketplace who have universal mounts. They cover about 99% of the market. Where we haven't, I think, really dove in is outdoor LED is an enormous opportunity for the marketplace, especially digital signage, and outdoor poses some intricate issues and cost issues. So I think that's where we need to spend a little bit more time learning, but I feel like in indoor we're at the right point where we're starting to make it a little simpler. It's not easy yet.
On the outdoor point, like, what's your guys' take on outdoor LCDs and where that technology's evolved as it's gotten weatherproof and high bright?
Well, I'll jump on that one first. Honestly, it's been really impressive, because if you drive through any quick serve restaurant, you order off a digital menu board basically at this point. And LCD in that case is still more practical than LED because of the size. You know, an LED display that's 55, 65 inches really doesn't make sense. LCD still is the dominant option there, and we've gotten to the point where they're ruggedized and they're waterproof, and now, you know, 3,000-4,000 nits brightness, they're actually practical to use in that environment. Installation's a whole nother issue. I'm setting you up for a comment if you want, but it really is kind of becoming accepted, and you're seeing it more and more and more. So I think it's something we have to get used to. But when you go to install them, be warned, they weigh a ton.
Yeah, I think there's a balance in the outdoor space. So you've got two options. You go with a fully outdoor rated display, and you have to enclose it into something to protect it. And the enclosure presents some airflow challenges. And so those two things have to be married pretty closely so you don't void your warranty on your display. On the flip side, you can go with a outdoorized display and a fully outdoor enclosure that costs an extreme amount. So we're not quite to the point where I think it can be mass deployed, but there are more discussions about it. And I think, honestly, drive-through technology is driving a lot of the conversation about where we need to be in terms of outdoor displays. And sports and entertainment is certainly another area.
Yeah. So on the direct view LED, kind of the next iterations of things are micro LED and transparent micro LED. It really hasn't hit the market in mass production yet. But where do you guys see this technology coming over the next couple of years?
Honestly, I'm going to say maybe unpopular opinion. I think it's a niche. I do. I don't know. We're just now getting comfortable with direct view LED. Micro LED is super cool. Transparent LED is super cool. The applications, the cost, how you deliver it in a meaningful way is still so uncertain that I don't know if we're ready yet.
100% agreed. Transparent, way too expensive. A transparent micro LED is 5 times the cost of a regular micro LED. That's insane. So that's going to be an economy of scale issue. When the cost gets down, there are applications for it. But regular micro LED, I'm going to be a little pedantic. That's your vocabulary word for the day, kids, by the way, pedantic. There's too many companies that claim micro LED, and it's not actual micro LED. When we want to talk about this, we mean true, proper, etched in place photolithography made like a semiconductor on the board micro LED. That's what you see with products like Samsung's The Wall, where it's true micro LED. And there's tons of other LED products that are like chip on board or glue on board that have that encapsulated look, and they feel like micro LED down at pixel pitches even lower than true micro LED. I agree with Michelle. It is a niche thing for now. As the technology continues to advance, we demand finer and finer pixel pitches. I mean, the wall above us looks phenomenal, and that's a fairly fine pitch wall that wouldn't have existed a few years ago. So we keep driving that pixel pitch down, where you're wanting to see something like 0.6, 0.7, even 0.5 millimeter product now. That's going to be a high-end, high-end home, high-end conference room showpiece until that gets down, if it ever does, where the price is equal to regular LED.
Yep. So we can get into like the tech nerdy stuff for a second. You want to explain the difference between the OLED and the micro LED?
Sure, what? Yeah, sure. Again, pedantic. The O means organic, Ryan. No, it's all about how it's built. So OLED has been like the holy grail technology for home theater for a lot of years in flat panel, right? This is something we all know. You see it. LG's been a huge champion of that, and it's been something they've been driving forward. They're on their fifth generation of technology now. So it's using organic phosphors to create light. You excite the phosphor. Yes, that's the technical term, excite the phosphor, and it creates light. And so it's an emissive display. That was why it was so cool in the early days of LCD, right? Because you could turn off pixels. Well, LED works the same way, but it's built fundamentally different. Like a micro LED is etched in place like a circuit board or like a chip. So it's actually done with photolithography. They etch it onto a circuit board, and LEDs create light from semiconductors. So similar operation principle. They're both emissive displays. They both have similar performance, although LED can be dramatically brighter than OLED, but they work in kind of a similar scientific principle. Was that nerdy enough for you?
That's great. So when we're here 5 years from now, do you think micro LED and OLED will have replaced LCD, just like we saw direct view LED replacing the video walls?
I got opinions, so I'm going to be mouthy. OLED, if we ever can figure out how to solve the burn-in issue, yes, it will dominate. Sorry for any OLED fans. I know that it's better. It still burns in. It's a phosphor. It's organic. It happens. That's why we stopped using plasma TVs. Okay? Yeah, I dated myself with that one. So if we ever solve burn-in, yes. Micro LED doesn't burn in, so if we get the cost down, also yes.
Question for you. There's a newer technology in traditional LED that is a flexible material. I see that coming into play.
Yeah.
It's much more attainable, right?
Yeah, that's really impressive when you see that with the meshes where you can get, and so look at some of the unusual configurations of some of these booth shapes, right? And imagine if you could wrap LED really easily, not just around a corner. We can do that pretty readily. Flat tiles like this, that you can do that. They're beveled. But when you get to flexible, where you can get really finite curves or unusual shapes, again, we're back to that same kind of concept, right?
And how you mount it is a whole nother ballgame.
So we mentioned when we were talking about LED a little bit about sustainability and longevity and power consumption and all those things. There's a wave of technology coming now that's more of a reflective technology. So we've seen e-ink around for a number of years, maybe more monochrome. You see it in electronic shelf labels, but now you're starting to see larger sizes, and it doesn't consume any power unless it's changing an image. Same with a cholesteric LCD, it doesn't have a backlight. And you're seeing new anti-reflective technology on the LCDs that help you run them at a lower power consumption, but the anti-reflective technology allows it to be more visible. Where do you guys see this technology fitting in the coming years?
I think these are niche as well, but I think there's a big market for this, and it's in the experiential side, where LED has a place, but it is ultra bright, and it is it is relative to viewing distance, right? It's not something you're viewing very close. So if you're in a museum, for example, and you want to get close to the environment, LED presents some challenges. So I can see if you were to round out where LCDs live today, a combination of these reflective displays and LED kind of replacing the entire market. So that's kind of where I see all of these playing. E-paper is a whole different ballgame. I think it doesn't have the wow factor, but it's a very cost-effective solution. So I think it will still have a place in the market, just understanding it's probably not going to be more in the experiential side, it's going to be in the tactical side.
Yeah, I mean, with e-ink, e-ink is the hybrid, right? It sits where I don't want to deploy an LCD or OLED or any other type of display technology because I'm not changing my message fast enough. But I want to be able to dynamically change my message occasionally and be able to do so rapidly. So then that makes sense. Some of the other technologies, I agree, very niche. Experiential is great, although anti-glare does have a lot of residential applications, your outdoor TVs and things where I don't want to deal with sun, and it can make it more power efficient. But I really think e-ink and the whole e-paper, now there is full color, and yes, it's pretty good, although don't expect it to have a particularly fast refresh rate, folks. It's pretty slow, but it works. It really does look as good as what you see on the screen. Shelf labels, big time, any kind of pricing, tags, well, you mentioned museums, the exhibit labels can be dynamic, so you don't have to reprint everything. Anytime you want that kind of display, I mean, how many people have a Kindle, right?
Well, I think the big thing when you look at e-paper is it's moving to replace printed posters that are on the wall. And the big benefit is it doesn't require power unless it changes. So, you're looking at 6-month to 12-month batteries, depending on how often you change the content. I mean, I'm assuming from a mounting perspective, not having to deal with power and plugging it in on mobile kiosks and stuff is a huge advantage. It
is. It's about as simple as it gets, and it's also a very simple solution for ADA compliance. So in very public spaces where, it's simple messaging that you're maintaining, whether that be branding, other things that don't change very often. I will say that the one note about it is they're so thin, and artistic would maybe be the word I would use, that mounting is not necessarily designed for those environments, and so it is a new environment for us to consider in mounting.
Yeah. Well, I think, curious what questions you guys have. Anybody in the audience have any topics you'd like us to dive into further? Any specific kinds of display technology or anything around digital signage that you'd like us to comment on? Do we put everybody to sleep? Huh? So I'll throw one more. General trends. What do you see as the next big thing in digital signage? Not just displays, like digital signage in general. Where do you see it going? What's interesting out there? Michelle, you want to go first? Still thinking.
Still thinking. I think digital signage is everywhere. We just have, maybe we've just adopted the fact that it is everywhere and didn't recognize it as digital signage in the past. That was a bit of awakening for many people, even within Legrand, for us to go, oh, didn't think about that display in a stadium being digital signage, right? So I think it's everywhere. That's number one. Number two, outdoor is, it's a bit overwhelming, but I have a feeling that people are going to get inundated with digital everywhere they look. It is the new communication source or marketing source for most brands. And third thing I'll note is, hold on, it'll come to me. Come back to me.
All right, Jonathan, what do you think?
Okay, so I'm going to go a little technically specific because I think one of the things we're starting to understand about digital signage is that it's. Oh, it came back to you? Okay, you want to go? Go before you lose again?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got you.
So what we're seeing today in digital signage, so there's an enormous contraction in spend in the market right now. We're seeing certain verticals spend more than others. And where we're seeing them spend is not necessarily in experiential design. That is still very much a part of certain environments, but it's in operational excellence. So I use Chick-fil-A as a great example. They learned how to use digital displays to improve a customer experience and their operational excellence. And I see that is where digital signage is really thriving right now, is how do I make my business more profitable using digital technology, and potentially protect myself from staff shortages, et cetera. We learned a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. So
That's great.
And now Michelle mic drops because that was awesome. I'll just go with ditto. But no, I will add only one thing onto that because that was brilliant and perfect. I'm glad I let you interrupt. That was good. But no, I think that one of the things we're learning to build on that is we have to make the most out of our signage. And I think using things like triggers and sensors to allow us to capture more data about the audience and then target that message, because we have to get, she's right, people are not spending as much, even though it's an accepted utility and they are spending. Some verticals more than others, like we talked about QSR quite a bit here, but it's having the data to say, okay, I want to get the message to Ryan. I may not know Ryan is Ryan, but this person that matches these demographics, I need to get the message to him at the right time, because digital signage is the most potent behavior modification tool we have that doesn't involve pharmaceuticals. So if I can get the right message to him, I can influence his buying, either get him to buy something or to buy something different when he didn't plan on it, and that's kind of the holy grail. It's relevance.
And monetization, that's something we didn't talk about. You kind of brushed on it, but how do I monetize every display in every environment, which is truly, we're just being sold to every time we look at a display. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that is the direction the technology is going in.
Do you guys see the displays getting smarter, where we're going to see AI and these sensors for gathering data being built right into the displays?
More than likely. Yeah, I don't think we're there today, but you see it, especially given we're at CEDIA. This is the home and the origin of the smart TV, right? The generic term that everybody uses. But there's enough processing power in a lot of these TVs now to start capturing that kind of data, and that's a little big brother and creepy. But yeah, I absolutely do think so.
Good. Have we sparked any questions yet? Well, I guess closing thoughts. Obviously we're the Digital Signage Federation. For those of you that came in a little bit late, we're a nonprofit that helps promote and expand the digital signage industry, and we do education and mix and mingles and different things. For, question here, for the people out there that want to learn more, aside from joining the DSF, where would you suggest they follow? What conferences, what magazines, publications? Where's a great source of information for integrators that are looking to expand into digital signage? Jonathan, I'll start with you.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm not doing this because of the show, not a shameless plug, but Commercial Integrator, absolutely a great resource. I only say that because I also do work with them. They're fantastic, so subscribe, it's free. The website has tons of great information. The Digital Signage Experts Group. So the organization that I run, we provide certifications very much like CEDIA does, specific to the digital signage industry. So dseg.org. Definitely go check us out. It's a great place for additional learning.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Digital Signage Federation. So in addition to being a nonprofit organization that brings people together, we do offer education courses within our site, which Ryan did touch on at the beginning. It's a great place to start. We start from bare bones. I'm just trying to dip my toes into the industry. So if you're onboarding somebody within your organization, it's a great place to start. And then depending on the vertical market that you are interested in, there are publications for literally any vertical you can think of that will focus solely on what's happening within that vertical, and gathering that information and seeing trends throughout each vertical is really important. So that goes for QSR, quick serve restaurant, by the way, we use that term a lot, hospitality, et cetera. They all have their own publications.
Yep. I'll throw a couple plugs in. Rave, that puts on events. They've got Digital Signage Week coming up in October. Also, the 16.9 blog that Dave Haynes puts out is a great resource if you just want to see what projects are happening out in the industry. There are a couple of good sources as well. I'm going to throw our email addresses up on the screen. Again, Michelle, Jonathan, and I are all board members at the Digital Signage Federation. Consider us resources if you want to learn more about the Digital Signage Federation, if you've got questions, if you need help on where to start. We're all ready, eager, willing, and able to help. We've got a great community of digital signage companies that are all part of the DSF, and we're happy to help connect you up with those as you're looking for any information, whether it's a particular type of product or just where to get started. And I will throw up the Digital Signage Federation website, just digitalsignagefederation.org. I'd encourage you to join. You know, it's free for end users. Again, simple silver sponsorship for integrators, for manufacturers is only $500 a year. You can get access to our directory, all of our information. You can get your logo up on the Digiscape. We want to help make companies aware of your organizations. So with that, any closing thoughts? Anything we didn't cover that you guys would like to throw out there? Great. Well, with that, thanks everybody for their time. We really appreciate you sitting here for the last 30 minutes or so and learning a little bit about emerging display trends. Thanks.